All right, let's talk about armpits. Okay, so when it comes to BO, like what's going on there? There's so many factors. This is a human thing. It's not a woman thing, not a man thing. Like it's a human thing. And I understand out there are some women who are very blessed with not being able to have really stinky underarm smells. So yay for you guys. For the rest of us,
That's not us.
this has got to be like $1 million industry in terms of like trying to neutralize body odor so that we're not offensive to those who we love to be around or people we don't know who are around. So let's first like just dig into like the worst experience you've ever had. Let's start with you, Jenny. What's your worst body odor underarm stink story that you've ever experienced?
With me or somebody else?
Either.
I mean, yeah, I would say 95% of people smell. I mean, sure. I'm not like a huge sweater. Like when I work out, obviously, but like, I don't have deodorant on right now and I'm okay. But I don't know, I think the worst is I think what gets me the most is when I am somewhere and somebody smells so bad. Like it's literally like where you want to throw up bad. I'm like, are you just like, did you not put deodorant on? Or are you just like one of those naturalists who just don't want to put anything on? Like, I don't know, but I literally have to walk away. I don't know of any really bad experiences of armpit smell, but that's just, I don't have any, I have other stories, but not. That's for another podcast.
Those are, whatever it is, I think it's worse than armpit smell. I don't even want to know what orifice or area of the body that could be coming from. Let's stick to something more.
Kelly, how about your experience?
Yeah.
Let's shoot it over to you.
You actually reminded me of something. I was living in Denver at the time, which to me is like tree hugger spot of the United States. But that the naturalist kind of, where they don't wear anything. And, this is before I knew anything about like, natural deodorants. And I have dog senses. Like I have more than dog senses. So I can smell everything from everywhere. My husband says, well, nobody can smell themselves. Oh, dude, I can smell myself. I can smell myself. I can smell you. I can probably smell you guys right now.
If you can smell yourself, that's bad. Like, that's bad.
That's when I know I have to put more deodorant on.
Who doesn't smell themselves? How does that happen?
Yeah, who can't smell? Miss Jenny, yourself. You guys smell yourself, don't? I mean, I'm not saying like I do that a lot. But
I would literally have to go like this and go like that to smell myself. I don't.
Okay, you're the minority. Everybody else can smell.
You are the minority.
Yeah.
So
what's wrong with your nose?
Right?
If I could smell myself, that's got to be extremely bad.
Like, okay, maybe for you in your situation, but people as a whole, like I'm the first one that smells me. Like how does anybody else smell me before I smell me?
Right.
I could probably walk by you and be like, whew, Paula, like.
But I smelled me first. But I smelled that first.
But she chose the stink. She chose the stink.
I wanted to stink. That's why you smell me.
Yeah. So
this is disgusting. But
well, my whole thing saying that there are people, and I don't know any naturalists now. I can't say that I haven't encountered them recently, but it did remind me when you said that of years. This is like probably 20 years ago, and I mean it was so like there's stink like workout body odor, and I think there's regular to me. Okay, for me, all right, there's regular body odor and there's workout body odor, and this was regular body odor, and it was bad. It was bad. I could never live like that. And that's why I use my deodorant that I love. And I am a kind of a deodorant freak. I, apply and reapply when needed. And
What is your favorite?
I use Secret. It's a generic kind of, it's secret. You go to the store, you can get it at any store. So
John T loves his Secret.
Does he? He uses Secret? See?
Yes,
Who? Me and Shanti.
Oh, Shanti. If I said Dante, I'm like, who's that? Okay.
Thank you, Shanti. You just gave me a pass. I appreciate you.
Well, what's interesting, that that's an interesting point that Kelly says, I can go to a regular place and, like a regular grocery store. I don't have to go to a specialty store. And, why is it that body odor can be so offensive? I mean, honestly, if it's not positive, then there's something wrong. Like, I feel like a negative sign from your body is like, something wrong is happening here. Like, you must take action, change it up. And if we're producing something that smells bad, there's got to be a reason for it. We should at least understand. And I know what's going on just from my own little, sort of superficial research, is that there's bacteria on our bodies. And the bacteria is over time having a negative, maybe when oxygen bacteria, I don't exactly know the chemistry of what's going on and why it smells bad. Why are we having bacteria in our armpits? Why is that necessary for human life?
Well, there's bacteria everywhere. So it's not necessarily necessary. They can congregate there, and it's warm and it's usually dark. It's just a haven for bacteria.
Sounds like yeast. Infection.
Does anybody know why our bodies were created to be in such a way where this area seems to get that smell? Like, what is it? What, besides taking a shower and cleaning the bacteria, what is this telling us about our bodies that we need to know to take action on?
Well, if your natural sweat smells offensively, then something is wrong. I think what we're talking about here is when we sweat and then that bacteria has hours to grow, and that's what creates that funky, like dead onion smell.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about natural sweat, because even if you shower and then work out and you don't put on any deodorant, you still should not stink. I mean, you might have you can smell the sweat, but it's not necessarily foul. You know what I mean? So if you have that and you do have a foul odor without that bacteria having a chance to grow, then something probably is wrong. You could have, clogged lymph nodes, or there's all kinds of things. You could have drank the night before. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we ingest that come out in our sweat as part of the detoxification process that your body's constantly going through that can, add to the odor. So that can be a clue right there. If you're eating a lot of chemicals, a lot of alcohol, whatever, you're not hydrated, all of these things can be a variable, but there's definitely got to be a distinction between natural sweat smell, which shouldn't be funky, and then the actual funk that deodorant is trying to prevent.
But everybody has a smell though, right? I mean,
Yes.
Everybody has their own.
Everyone has a smell.
Michelle, talk to me about, because you're saying like it shouldn't really smell, things like that. But what about, or if we drank or ate something kind of weird, like hormonal changes?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
Because I look at, I've got a teenager in the house, and there's always funky smells coming out. I'm entering the menopause years. And so how can you tell a difference necessarily? I guess I don't know. How do you tell a difference? Can you?
Well, I think part of it is what you already nailed, is the age. When we had teenagers in the house, it was funky pits and funky feet, you know. And it was like one day they were this cute little thing, and the next day it was like, oh God, you know, where did that smell come from? So, and I think it's true for us too, as we start going through hormonal changes, or even younger women on a monthly basis. If you really step back and take note of those changes, which most of us don't do because we just shower, put on our deodorant, blah, 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 and go for it, you know. I think it has a lot to do, again, with age, and then for us, you know, the time of the month or where we are in life. So, and otherwise you'd have to have a doctor test.
Okay.
So, and they can test you for hormonal imbalances.
If the smell, the odor is coming from something that you've consumed, does the smell change based on what you consumed that created the smell?
Absolutely. And if we didn't wear deodorant and we really took note of that, it would be a huge sign for us. You know, think of the people that are eating, you know, from a fast food or hot Cheetos, beer, soda, all the stuff that, you know, we used to ingest, that, you know, you can smell that stuff coming out, you know. So
then is the armpit sort of a body regulator in terms of like releasing toxins from?
Well, it's wherever you sweat from.
Okay, so anywhere all over your body could produce.
Yes.
Okay. Why does it
So
sound
you really should marry someone that likes garlic too. If you like garlic, they need to like garlic.
just sneak it in their food?
Right.
But how come when I smell right here when I'm sweating versus smelling right here, it does not smell the same?
Because there's no, it's not hot here. Think about your armpits or other areas of your body.
Or right here, or my knee pit.
You're not doing this all day. If you walked around like this,
when I'm lifting weights, I am. No, just
so you're not holding it like that.
You might have a little fungus if you do that all day. I don't know.
So we need to walk around like this.
There's a
Just
fungus
keep our arms up.
among us, right?
Fungus among us.
Tap our little.
Okay, so Michelle as the expert on nutrition.
Okay.
And this is why we keep, you know, for those of you who are just chiming in, Michelle is a certified nutritionist, and she's also a licensed holistic health practitioner. So this is why we're picking her science brain on this, so that we can better understand. But Michelle, you talked about foods producing odors, if you're eating certain toxic foods, or maybe even not toxic, just have a lot of whatever odor within themselves.
Spices, right.
What are the common things that could create an offensive odor that doesn't have to do with our bacteria, but it just has to do with because we ate something?
Well, any kind of chemicals and any kind of artificial color, anything that your body doesn't know what to do with. You know, when we ingest macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, fat, our body knows exactly what to do with those. And even micronutrients, the vitamins, and they say, oh, she ate an apple. I'm going to send this vitamin here, fiber here. It knows exactly, you know, it's like a giant processing plant that it just, think of like a big postal service where it just sorting all the stuff. Well, when we ingest things that our body doesn't know what to do with, one of the ways to get rid of them is through our sweat, you know, and unfortunately, another way is to encapsulate them in fat. So if you're working out and you're burning fat, or eating a type of way that allows you to use fat for fuel, like what we teach, then that can come out, and it's coming out as part of a natural detoxification process. So you could be like totally healthy, even at, you know, close to your goal weight, and your body could still be processing toxins that you ate 10 or 15 years ago. That's totally plausible. Yeah.
That is nuts.
10 or 15 years ago?
If it's encapsulated in fat, yes. Because when you break
Holy
open
sheep shit. Yeah.
That's got to be some stinky toxin. 10-year-old toxin.
That's why people go through detox symptoms too. You know, they're like, man, I'm eating healthy, I'm doing all the right things, but you can, you know, it's coming out. It's got to come out at some point. You don't want that to stay, in your body. So, but I think the number one reason, and what we're talking about today, is really just the bacterial growth. And especially if you switch to a natural deodorant, then it becomes much more pronounced, because standard deodorants that have aluminum in them, and this is Jenny's area of expertise, the chemical stuff, they're blocking, they put a stop to the actual sweat production. So it's not even the deodorant we're talking about the antiperspirant. And when you block that process, Kelly,
it's scary.
When you block that process and then remove that blockade, all that, imagine just the stuff that's in your pits that's been there for God knows how long. So when I started using the natural deodorant, I had to go through a detoxification, kind of a little protocol that I did, because it wasn't really working for me. And I tried a couple different ones before I found the one that I liked. But it was funny, because when I started it, I had one side, and it was a right side that worked perfect. And it smelled fresh and pretty. And on the left side, it was a nightmare. Like, what in actual hell is going on here? Like, what? So I had to do my own research. And I started doing a charcoal mask. So I did masks underneath my arms to try to release whatever bad stuff was in there. And once I did that detox process, I had a lot better results. But
right, because if you don't unclog those, if you've been clogging those with aluminum filled deodorants, then you put it on and it just smells like flower scented death. It doesn't actually really make you smell good.
Well, and I didn't even notice. It was kind of like that thing where you guys were saying about smelling yourself. Like going around the house. What the hell is that?
What died in here?
What's over here?
And then I'm like going in a circle, like, what? Oh, shit, that's me. It was so awful. But
that had to be awful.
It was awful.
My God. But
because of my health issues, and especially with lymphatic drainage, I was really wanting it to work. So I tried different ones. I did the detox, and now I don't have any problem. I smell just as fresh on the left as I do on the right. But I could see where people would get really frustrated. And they say it takes weeks. It takes weeks for that process to happen. And most of us don't want to wait weeks. Like the first sign of, I stink, you're going straight back to that regular deodorant. So it definitely is a personal choice. It's not necessarily for everybody, but I found one that I love. And
what is it?
It's called Kopari.
Coconut.
Where do you find it?
I got mine on Amazon. I've never seen it in the store, but it's made from coconut, and it's super smooth. It smells really good.
Is it like a one of those white ones, or is it like a clear liquid roll-on? Is it solid or roll-on?
It's solid, but it's not white.
Okay.
It has almost like a purple, like a violety gray hue to it.
So does that come off on your clothes? Because have you guys ever had
never. It doesn't show white on anything. So that's another thing that I like about it.
Kelly, what about yours? Because when I used to use those white solids, and if I wore anything with color, I would get the white rub off on my clothes.
Come a long way, baby. I use the invisible solid. I don't have any problems with that.
Right.
It's invisible?
It's invisible.
Man, I'm out of it.
Little black dress on it. They show it with the little black dress.
Yeah, it used to be that. Well, because I sweat all the time until I found out about something else that I could help myself out with in my 30s, no less. But that I used to have that problem all the time, and now I just don't. It doesn't, because I don't sweat the volume that I use. I still sweat, but it's not at all like it used to be. So, but I probably just clogged everything up and it's staying in there, which, hey, is fine with me.
All right, Michelle, long term, if that stays in you, like, what is that looking like? Like, what's Kelly what kind of horrible thing in the future is Kelly setting herself up for by keeping those things clogged?
Well, I mean, you could feel sensitive. Like you could, like for me, my lymph nodes felt swollen all the time. So, and it was constantly, kind of a little ache, and I really didn't like it. And then once I got sick, I really started becoming kind of hypersensitive to that stuff. So if there's anything that I can do to alleviate symptoms that really aren't symptoms, it's just stuff that I'm doing to myself, I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's one of the first things is you'll feel, maybe even you can feel your lymph nodes, or there'll be some kind of an ache. So, and for us especially, being at the age where breast cancer becomes really a concern, even though there's not a huge correlation between breast cancer and deodorant. Like the first time that I tried it was because my son came home and told me, like, and he was a little bit in a panic, like, did you know, like, he wanted to know what kind of deodorant I used. And I'm like, why?
Is it not working?
I learned that in school, something about the correlation between deodorant, and they were really pushing the natural deodorants for the kids. And I've got nieces that are, 12, 13, 14, and they all use natural deodorant.
Wow.
Because there's really a push for this, and I didn't even know. I don't know if they're teaching it in sex ed or whatever, but for those of us who are giving ourselves self-exams or going for mammograms, that's one of the first things you look for is any type of a little lump. So, you don't want to give yourself a false positive or become afraid of something because you do have to do your armpits too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Around. So, but that would be one of the first signs.
That's kind of scary to me, guys. If you guys, like, when I started switching over to watching the chemicals and toxins and everything that I was eating, well, then it turned into things that I'm using on myself too. My ex-sister-in-law passed away at the age of 41. She left 2 children from breast cancer. And so just all of the stuff just started, I just kept thinking. And I'm like, if you guys, if you really think about how close that is to the breast area, and if there was even a small % chance that deodorant was linked up to that, I mean, wouldn't you guys, that's what scared me. And that started changing my life and started researching. And I actually started trying different natural deodorants because I don't love them all. I will be honest with you, but I finally found a couple that I do like, which that's what we use. I got it for Taylor, my daughter. But that scares me half to death. So it's not even about being stinky. It's about what's happening internal for me. That's what freaks me out about this subject. And being in the beauty industry for so long, I want the listeners to be aware and think about this, that if you are going to be waxed, we all sometimes like to be smooth and all that stuff. And we all like shaving, but when you
We're talking armpits, right?
We are talking armpits at this moment. Yes.
So Jenny specifically is talking about, in case you have never experienced waxing, using a waxing process to remove your hairs from your armpit. So they put wax on, they peel it off, and it rips out all the hairs at one time.
What other wax would there be, Paula?
There's candle wax, there's ear wax, there's bee wax, there's
it's actually wax.
Yeah, there's ear wax. No, but there is a waxing process for your ears too.
Oh, dear goodness. Okay, no, we're not talking about that right now. But if you think about it, when you are actually applying wax and then you either take a strip or just take the cold wax and you rip it off, your follicles are open and exposed. So if you're actually going to take deodorant and putting that on, you're kind of opening up a can of worms right there. So I would, if you do wax, I would not recommend putting deodorant on and just wait a while till those follicles close again and go take a cold shower. I don't care what you do, but just the sweatier, like Michelle was saying, the heat is underneath here. So if you could just, get those closed, but that's my recommendation on that. That scares me. Shaving is a different situation because when you're shaving, you're actually just, cutting the hair off. You're actually not pulling, nothing's happening to the follicle inside. So just that's where I stand on this subject, because that scares me half to death. If there's even just a little bit that could happen, I'm going to watch what I put on my underarms.
So tell us, Jenny, what were your most successful experiments? What brands do you like?
Piper Way was one of my first ones. Actually, when I first bought it, it was actually just in a little jar like this. And it's kind of hard because you have to like dig in there and put it on. They finally came out with a roll-on. Not a roll-on, but like a stick. So that is so much easier to use. I definitely want to try the one. I'm going to order the one that you were just talking about, the Kopari, because I've been seeing a lot of articles on that and very good reviews. So that is my next one. I have to tell you an experience that we did. Native is also one of my favorites. Native they have a couple different scents. That one goes on really well. And I'm all too about smell. I know fragrance isn't always good for us, but if something smells bad, I'm not going to be applying that under my armpits. Sorry. Because that plus your smell does not equal success. Yeah. But this was a weird situation. When we went down to Panama for Taylor's stem cell treatment, I actually was at Costco and I bought a new deodorant, and it was the Schmitz, and I don't know if it's just Schmitz, but if that's just
that's the brand.
So they had a 3-pack, and it was rose and lavender, and I thought, okay, good, we'll have enough for Taylor and I. Well, when we were down there, we started using it. We started breaking out. We had this bad rash. It was itching and burning so bad. And it was the strangest thing ever, because all we were doing was shaving. Nothing was happening. So I don't know. I guess we just had an allergic reaction.
There's baking soda in that particular one, because that bothered me after shaving too. Because I did people try to do this over the summer. But that one bothered me after shaving. So I used it to work out, but that one has baking soda in it. So that could be what.
That's the only time that we've ever had a reaction, but it was so severe. Like I had to go and I had to go to the pharmacy for Taylor because it was so bad. And I didn't want, at first I thought maybe the cells in her body that they were injecting were, having a reaction or something, but then it happened to me. And I was like, oh no, it's definitely the deodorant. So that was the only bad experience I've had with deodorants, but I truly love them and I use them all the time just because I'm a little bit freaky like that with toxins and chemicals.
So has anybody had any good experiences with the crystal? That was the first one I tried.
That's the one I use. I've been using it for years. So it's not an antiperspirant, so I'm still going to sweat, but it definitely kills the bacteria. It's very effective. And for me, that was a big find, because I had tried all kinds of different ones before I even knew about natural ones, having come from an obese background. And then having lost a bunch of weight and being a fitness instructor and personal trainer for years, I worked out a lot. And I was really embarrassed once when I was at the gym and I was working out. And my workout buddy's like, dude, when she walked past me, she's like, damn, like, girl, you need something. I'm like, I know I do. I don't know what to do about it. Like, I tried everything. I can't help it. So now I'm all paranoid, walking around the gym like this, keep my arms down.
Getting more bacteria.
Getting more hot, working out more. No.
I would have went in the bathroom and soaked that up and washed that a little bit.
Well, I was working out in a gym full of other stinky people, so I wasn't too worried about it. But it was definitely embarrassing. And then another person told me a story of how one of the people who came to my classes that I was teaching told her that she said something like, man, Paula has got something up with her smell. And they could smell me from being in my class, and I'm at the front teaching the class. So my class could smell me. And I walked in and around my class. I didn't stay just at the front. I was always walking through them. But like, that's super embarrassing. But now that I know the story about, I was obese for almost 2 decades. So I was still in my journey of losing a bunch of weight. So now I know those were 15-year-old bacteria stinking toxins that were coming out at that time. So, using the salt deodorant absolutely has changed the game for me. But it could be too that I don't have as many of those toxic fat cells.
You don't
God.
stink anymore? You don't smell?
No, I smell. I mean, if I don't like, clean myself for a while, then, at the end of the day, I can be stinky. But, especially if it's in the summer and it's hot and I've been sweaty and all that kind of stuff. But I use that stuff, the crystal one, and it works great in terms of smell. I still have sweat, but yeah, I mean, it totally does the job for me. I have not changed it because I haven't felt like I needed to. I mean,
So how does it work? I've never seen the crystal. Like, how does it work? Do you have to wet it? Like, do you just what do you do?
it's like a big old hard chunk of rock, but it's like clear. It's a big giant chunk of salt, I'm assuming. And it looks like kind of like a crystal. It's in the shape of like a deodorant roll on sort of, but it's solid. And yes, you just like that thing will last that stick will probably last longer than I do in terms of like life. But
Wow.
you put a little bit of water on it and then you just rub it. And then I'm assuming, Michelle, you can tell me the salt kills the bacteria. And that's why it makes the smell go away.
Right. I'm not exactly sure how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I was just wondering, I do have a crystal. I did try it, but I guess I didn't read the directions or something because I didn't know you're supposed to wet it.
Oh.
And so then I'm like, well, how is this getting on me? Like, I'm rubbing rocks? I'm rubbing rocks on my armpits. Like, this is the most hoodoo crap I've ever heard of. But I have one in the bathroom. I'm going to try it now that I know you have to wet it. That's
yeah,
it's true when you're doing things and my mom's like, oh, that's new age crap. And I'm like, well, I mean, there's got to be something behind it because millions of people are using this and have been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for decades. This is not a new thing. This crystal thing is not a new thing. So, I mean, there's got to be some validity to it. It works at least for some people. And I think that's the point, that if you want to go natural, give yourself time, make sure you do some of those detox processes and be willing to try, more than one. Because it took me a few. Like, I tried a few that I really just didn't like at all. Either I broke out, like Jenny said, or it just didn't work. I mean, not even close to working. So, yeah, but, if it's important to you, I guess, then, try to stick with it and find something that works.
Yeah.
It may be like Kels that you just, say, this isn't for me. I don't love it. I'm tired of trying. Kelly had told us before that, she had ruined some clothes and it was really frustrating to her because it's like, well, shit, I'm trying to do the right thing, but, here I'm ruining clothes and that makes me more upset and I still smell like a goat.
The ones I tried, I liked the smell of them. I mean, they used the essential oils, lavender in it, had charcoal in it. The whole concept was awesome to me. I sweat and I was ruining clothes. And did you catch what Michelle did there? She goes, just stick with it.
Oh, stick with it.
Deodorant stick.
I don't know, it's funny. But yeah, so I mean, I think the concept is great, but it just doesn't solve my problem.
Now, Kel, do you smell or is it just sweat?
No, I don't smell.
Okay.
Right. So she needs the antiperspirant.
Okay.
Right? So
I'm sweating now, people.
Right. Any of the natural deodorants, I don't think they have an antiperspirant because it's actually the antiperspirant that's what the aluminum does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it stops you from sweating.
It blocks you from sweating. Yeah. And that's where the controversy is as to whether or not that's dangerous.
Not sweating is not natural. So you won't find that in a natural deodorant.
Right. Exactly.
But sweating as much as I do is not natural either. So,
right.
Well, if it comes out of your body and you're healthy, it's got to be natural. Everybody's just a little bit different, right? I think it's the social pressures. Social pressures make you feel like it's not. Yeah.
There is a condition of excessive sweating with people with super sweaty palms, super sweaty pits, and they do have medications for it.
Right.
But there are conditions where if you went to the doctor and said, I sweat this amount, the doctor can tell you that's not a normal amount. So there are people that suffer from that particular condition. I don't know if Kel's does, but I mean, it's a legit thing. It's not just, oh, I sweat a little bit.
Right.
No, I don't think. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if that's going on, then there's that's not even what we're, that's different than what we're talking about. That's a health condition of some kind that has to have a treatment of some kind, for some other reason. But in terms of, like just being a sweater when a heavy sweater when you're working out, for example, that's different. If you're sweating all the time, like that's something you should probably understand. You should probably get an understanding of why that's going on. And in terms of normal, not comparing yourself to other people to determine what normal is, like what your body's normal is, like what body intelligence, mind body connection, like understanding if you're healthy and you're doing all the right things and that's just the way your body sweats and there's nothing wrong with you, then that's just, then that's your normal. Like, and just like be accepting of that and come up with whatever strategies you have to feel comfortable in your clothes and your skin in your social situations, with as much as possible, not trying to implement tactics that could create harm to yourself. Right.
Right.
Kelly, I love you even when you sweat. Long as you don't stink.
Thank you. But I love what you said about because awareness is one thing. When you're in your teens and 20s and 30s, at least for me, I was very concerned about what other people thought. So having the massive pit sweat was always very embarrassing for me. Now at my age, I'm 48. I'm like, hey, I sweat a little. I don't sweat a ton anymore, on a regular basis, but it doesn't mean as much to me now because it doesn't define who I am. The size of my pit sweat isn't going to be like, oh, she's, I notice it on other people because I'm very aware of it. And I feel, I've been in meetings where a man lifted his arm and it was just, I'm like, oh my God, I feel you, dude. I totally feel you. Like when I'm sitting there and it's just dripping down my sides, I'm like, I am not even moving. I'm blinking too hard and fast, apparently. So, it's all about accepting and being aware of what your body does. I sweat a lot when I work out. I always have. I was an athlete. I sweat a ton, but I also sweat when I'm not working out, and that's okay. I did, Michelle, to answer your question, I know what that, I forget what it's called, but there is that condition out there, and I do get sweaty palms, but I wouldn't say that I was never diagnosed with that. But it was in my 30s. I went to my doctor and I said, this is happening because I was ruining a lot of my clothes. And, I did get a prescription and the stuff was called Dry Sol, and it literally dried your armpits out. And that kind of helped me. Whether as I aged, I just sweat less, I don't know. I probably was very hormonal because I had other issues as well, like with my period and, eating white flowers and things like that. And being just having my mood, a lot of severe mood swings based on that kind of thing. So that probably had something to do with it as well. But, I didn't find out until my 30s that this was out there. I'm like, really? I lived at the time, you feel like I lived half my life all sweating like crazy, but I just love what Paula said. It's being aware and knowing what is normal for you.
Right.
And you can't compare yourself to other people because Jenny might not sweat at all, and I'm going to sweat just, sitting here blinking. So, it doesn't change the person I am inside because I love me and I know you all love me. So it's, whether I sweat or not, it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I don't stink. So that's most important.
When I was working in corporate America and I would, wear silk blouses or whatever, I always they have a little panty liner for your blouse.
I use those too.
Yeah.
I sweat right through them. Dude, they crumbled and fell right off because I sweat right
I
through
have never ever seen that.
Yes, it's like a little panty liner for your blouse. And you just kind of stick it in there.
Yeah. Goes in the underarm.
Especially silk. and then you sweat through to your business
never bought
or whatever. That just made me insane. So I love those.
That's why I always wore black. I didn't start wearing colors until I was in my 30s. Seriously.
Black did not save me. When I was working in corporate America, I had black, that like dry clean only stuff. And I would get notes pinned to the armpits of my outfits that came back to me saying, sorry, this is a permanent sweat stain. It's never coming off. And even prior to that, if they did get it off, before it got to the like no turning back, like it's never going to change. It's going to always be stained. It would it's the first time I wore it, it would instantly reappear the sweat stains from before. And it'd be like white, dried sweat stain on a black or dark blue outfit. And
I'd go to the bathroom and wet it so that like if I had to be in front of people, I'd wet it to make the white go away for the time period I needed it to.
Right. I would just walk around. Like, here's your paper.
That could have been the deodorant.
It probably could have been.
Now it goes on white but dries clear or whatever. But back then that was another concern. You have these expensive outfits and then you get this, white junky deodorant everywhere. It was a mess,
I think that was for everybody years ago. Like everybody had the white, we always had stuff.
How do you wiggle into your dress?
Right?
Right, without getting makeup on it or deodorant on it. See, men don't understand these things.
They sweat too. But
getting into their dress.
Speaking of, social pressures, I knew somebody once who told me that, she was also a sweater. She was a fitness person, so she worked out a lot. So of course she sweat when she worked out, like most people do. But she would sweat even not doing that. And she had an opportunity to correct that with a surgery where they go in and surgically remove sweat glands in her armpits so she wouldn't have those sweat spots on her underarms. And I was like, really? How does it work? How do I do it? How much does it cost? I was really excited. She's like, but I regret it because what happened is after they removed those sweat glands, your body still has to sweat. Your body still has to release. Like it's a natural, healthy process for a reason. It exists for a reason. And so what ended up happening for her is she broke out in massive amounts of sweat in other areas of her body around her torso. And it was just uncontrollable. And she if she worked out, she was literally completely drenched. Like she walked into a shower with her clothes on.
Oh.
It was like dripping off of her. And if she didn't change her clothes and take a shower if she would have just like go and get in her car and quickly drive home to go shower, she would, by the time she got home, be completely broken out in a rash from the bacteria. Right. And it became like this nightmare situation for her that like she's forever going to have to plan her time around that problem in any situation that she could potentially sweat a lot, which really
to me that's irresponsible of her physician to have recommended that.
She was a model.
He had to know what it was going to do to her.
She was a model, and models will do crazy stuff so that they, can perform. And it wasn't necessarily what she would have liked because she's a very health conscious person, right? But it was the potentially the industry, social pressures, whatever, or just lack of education at that time. This was a long time ago. Who knew that we saw it as a fix, just like convenience foods. Like that was a fix for time, and now it's like
who knew was her physician, her doctor knew. True. So that's what I'm saying. That's irresponsible for him, not for her.
You're right.
He suggested it, and she's like, "Oh, it's my doctor. If a doctor's recommending it, there's a procedure. It must be okay."
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Oh, that's a whole nother podcast right there, because I could get on that one too. But let's not do that.
Well, I asked my doctor because I was sweating. This is when I was a big girl, and I asked her, and I was staining all my nice dry clean clothes, and I said, "Hey, is there a thing that I could do?" And she said, well, I said, I heard that there's some kind of injection or something you do to do something with the sweat glands. She's like, well, yeah, but it's not healthy for you to do that. Like your body's supposed to sweat. So I was like, oh, okay. So she was really responsible and didn't let me go through with it. So
Thank goodness.
yeah. But, you know, the key is, I think our message is that explore natural remedies for these things, either natural deodorants or like understand what's going on with your body. Like, why is that happening? Is that natural for your body? Is it normal for your body to be sweating the way that you are or smelling the way that you are? It could be because of what you're eating. It could be because of toxins being released from your body, because you're burning fat cells, especially if you're losing weight right now. There could be tons of different factors, but don't just treat the symptom. Find out what's going on and don't put stuff that could potentially create other problems for you on your body until you do some research a little bit. Like, Michelle, what should they start researching if they're having issues with too much sweat or what they feel like is too much sweat, or if they're having stinky armpit problems?
Well, if you're having stinky armpit problems and too much sweat with a regular deodorant, then you probably want to talk to your doctor, because any deodorant that you buy off the shelf, unless it specifically says it doesn't have an antiperspirant, should be addressing those issues. And obviously you want to make sure that you're showering enough. I mean, some people shower once a day, some people shower twice a day. It's really just a matter of what's going on in your life, if you worked out or whatever. But if you're noticing a change, like you're normal one day and then all of a sudden you're having sweats or you notice a strange odor, whatever, especially, depending on your age, you might want to have your hormones checked. I mean, that could be a sign that you're starting to go through a hormonal change, just like we watch our teenagers go through that. I mean, it's so obvious with them when we're the mom looking at what they're going through, but sometimes not obvious for us. We're just like, hey, what happened? So, and then too, if it turns out your hormone levels are okay, you might want to talk to somebody about what you're eating. So it could be, something, they say our body changes every 7 years. So it is possible that you develop an allergy or some kind of food sensitivity. There could be a gut issue going on, and there could be a million things. So, but I would, start with noticing whether or not it's normal for you, and then talk to your physician if you're at an age where it might be a hormonal issue, and then talk to somebody about, how you could possibly change your diet.
All right. Awesome. Great words of wisdom. Does anybody want to add any other last tips or thoughts about natural deodorants and stinky armpits?
If you guys try one and it doesn't work, there are plenty out there. Please send us a message, comment below, ask us for advice, because I know I've tried plenty. So if you're kind of like toying about like, maybe I should try it, send us a message and let us know, because we'll give you the advice that we've tried and all the ones that we liked or didn't like. But what worked for me may not work for you. I say keep trying and don't give up.
Michelle?
I was just going to say, we always talk about this in our circle, but make sure you're hydrated. Hydrate, because that could be part of the problem too. And people think, oh, well, maybe if I drink more, I'll sweat more. That's not true. At first, you might pee more, but you're not going to sweat more. And you do need that water constantly helping to flush things from your body. So that would be, one of the first questions I would ask someone: how much water do you drink? So that's my last bit of advice.
Awesome. And my last bit of advice would be, if you guys love this type of conversation, these kinds of topics that we talk about here, join us in our community called HEROMOM Nation, where we have these kinds of conversations where Michelle, Kelly, Jenny, and I are in there, and you guys can chat with us, hit us up with comments or questions about things that you've heard us talk about on these podcasts, or anything that we're talking about within our community of moms who are working hard to be their best self and create their HEROMOM legacy for themselves and for the families. And they're doing it together there in HEROMOM Nation with us, helping guide them along the way with the tools that we've learned, and then sharing their own ideas too. So join us in there. The link is here with this video. Just click on it anytime, and we will love to see you guys in there. All right, see you on the next podcast.
Bye, guys.